If you've made it this far, stop everything and pay attention. Nothing, absolutely nothing, in this universe happens by accident. This video crossed your path for a reason far greater than you imagine. You're one step away from breaking an invisible barrier that separates you from the life you've always wanted. But there is something, or rather, someone, trying to stop you. And it isn't a person, a situation, or an external problem. It's a hidden, silent, persistent adversary working behind the scenes of your mind. And today, you're going to discover who it is, and more importantly, how to defeat it once and for all. What you're about to hear has the power to flip the switch in your life. But before we continue, leave a power phrase in the comments. I choose to win, even when I'm afraid. Write it. Declare it to the universe. You're about to access something transformative. To understand what's keeping you from winning, even when you're so close, we need to talk about science, spirituality, and the human mind. And there's no more important name here than Jacobo Grinberg. He was a Mexican neuroscientist who pushed beyond the limits of traditional science by studying how consciousness shapes reality. Grinberg developed the theory of the neuronal field, an invisible field that connects our inner perception with what we experience externally. In other words, the reality you live is created from the inside out, but he wasn't the only one to see this. The Swiss psychiatrist Carl Gustav Jung, through the concept of the shadow, revealed that every human being carries unconscious parts that operate in silence, sabotaging us without our noticing. And the most unsettling part, this shadow usually attacks hardest when we're on the verge of winning. Modern science supports this too. Research from the HeartMath Institute has shown that the human heart emits an electromagnetic field 60 times stronger than the brain. In other words, it's not enough to think positively. You must deeply feel victory. And if you don't understand this, you could abandon your dreams just steps away from achieving them. There's a very specific moment in the journey of anyone who is about to win. It's when everything starts to work, doors begin to open, and the universe finally seems to be conspiring in your favor. But it's exactly at that instant, the closest point to victory, that a silent, almost imperceptible yet devastating force appears. This is what we call the inner shadow, the hidden adversary. This concept was studied in depth by Carl Gustav Jung, who defined the shadow as the repressed part of our unconscious. They are thoughts, fears, beliefs, and traumas we deny, but that remain alive within us. The most intriguing thing? This shadow shows up with the greatest intensity precisely when we're about to achieve something great. Imagine someone digging for a diamond vein. They dig, persist, invest time, energy, and hope. But 1 centimeter from the treasure, they give up. What made them stop? It wasn't physical exhaustion. It was the inner voice whispering, "You won't make it. This isn't for you. What if everything goes wrong?" That voice is the shadow at work, creating fear, doubt, and insecurity. This phenomenon is real and affects more people than you might think. Sometimes you've already asked the universe, visualized success, started taking action, and then intrusive thoughts appear. Do I really deserve this? What if I grow and can't handle the pressure? What if people judge me? It's as if your mind wants to protect you, but in reality, it's sabotaging your own evolution. The shadow is cunning. It doesn't shout, it whispers. And because it's part of you, it knows your weak spots, your insecurities, your triggers. If you aren't aware that it's acting, you simply believe what it says and give up. Not because victory wasn't possible, but because something inside convinced you it wasn't the right time, that it wasn't safe, that it was too late. But here's the most important point. The shadow is not your enemy. It's simply a part of you that needs to be acknowledged and integrated. Jung said the process of individuation, the path of true human evolution, requires becoming whole, that is, bringing light and shadow into harmony. Fighting the shadow is useless. What you need is to recognize its presence, welcome your fears, and keep going with them. When you do that, the shadow loses its power, and you move forward, one more centimeter. The centimeter that separates those who almost won from those who truly did. Have you noticed how, when you're about to achieve something important, a sudden, inexplicable anxiety shows up? An invisible, almost irrational fear takes over your body, and along with it come thoughts like, what if I fail? What if everything falls apart? What if I'm not enough? That isn't random emotion, it's your subconscious trying to protect you, but that protection often costs you your success. Over the course of evolution, the human mind was programmed to avoid suffering. So when it identifies any possibility of pain, even the discomfort of change, the defense system kicks in. Fear, doubt, guilt, and shame are like internal alarms screaming, go back to what's safe. But what is safe? The comfort zone, even if that zone is limited, scarce, or unhappy. This is where science gives us a powerful answer. Studies conducted by the HeartMath Institute have shown that the human heart generates an electromagnetic field 60 times stronger than the brain. That means feelings are far more powerful than thoughts. You can repeat, I am prosperous, 1,000 times, but if you feel fear, scarcity, or unworthiness, that's what your energetic field will emit, and that's what reality will mirror back. The problem is that most people try to overcome this using mental force alone. They believe that if they think positively all the time, everything will change. But they ignore that what shapes your reality isn't isolated thoughts. It's your dominant feelings, and those feelings are built gradually through your deepest experiences, memories, and emotions. The subconscious understands feeling as truth. It isn't impressed by pretty phrases or well-organized thoughts. It responds to what you feel with intensity and repetition. That's why many people live in a state of self-sabotage. They feel small, insufficient, afraid of their own greatness, and even unintentionally, they transmit that frequency. Now think, how many times have you been close to something incredible and backed away? How many opportunities slipped away because you doubted yourself? How many projects did you postpone because you thought it wasn't the right time, when in fact it was fear disguised as prudence speaking? Fear is natural. It only becomes a problem when it paralyzes you. The secret isn't to erase it, but to move through it. What you feel doesn't have to stop you. It can strengthen you. When you acknowledge fear but act anyway, something inside you reorganizes. It's as if you tell your shadow, I see you, but you don't run me anymore. That's the moment you begin to change your frequency. And when your frequency changes, reality starts to obey you. Now that you understand that feelings command reality far more than thoughts, it's time to learn something that can truly change your life's direction. You can transmute any negative emotion into creative power. When developed, this ability becomes true inner alchemy, the key to abundance, peace, and personal fulfillment. Most people believe they need to wait to feel good before they act, but it's exactly the opposite. You need to act to start feeling good. Feeling can be trained, cultivated, and, above all, reprogrammed. And it all begins with a conscious decision. Leave autopilot and take command of your emotional frequency. So how do you do that in practice? First, you need to understand that feeling doesn't change with logic, but with sensory and emotional experience. That means to change what you feel, you must live situations that awaken new sensations, even small ones. Spend time in places you love, be with people who inspire you, listen to music that lifts you, connect with nature, with children, with animals, with art, with faith. All of these are sources of high emotional frequency. Imagine someone who spent years in states of sadness, anxiety, or depression. This person generated so many negative thoughts that over time they formed a dense, dominant feeling. Now, even if they try to think positively, that emotional background remains active. The mind says, it will work out. But the body still vibrates. It's going to go wrong. The solution? It's not to repeat more positive thoughts, but to transform the emotional field. To do that, you need to spark small jolts of elevated vibration. You don't have to wait to feel 100% motivated to take a walk in the park, play an uplifting song, call someone who loves you, or watch something inspiring. Just begin. The feeling doesn't need to be huge at first. It needs to be cultivated consistently. There is an invisible tipping point. The more you expose yourself to positive experiences, the more your frequency adjusts, and the more your field begins to attract new opportunities. It's an upward spiral. You feel a bit better, and that feeling improves your perception. With expanded perception, you see new possibilities. Seeing possibilities, you act. Acting, you change reality. Emotional alchemy isn't magic. It's biological, energetic, and spiritual. And it happens the moment you choose to stop being a hostage to what you feel and become the creator of what you want to feel. Even if your current reality still looks dark, you can light a small inner flame. That flame is your new feeling. With time, it transforms everything. That's how you reprogram the field. That's how you stop being a victim of your emotions and become the master of your frequency. One of our biggest mistakes on the path to fulfillment is failing to protect our emotional energy. When we talk about abundance, growth, and life change, we're dealing with an extremely sensitive vibrational field. You can spend days raising your frequency, working on your feelings, connecting with what's best in you, and just a few minutes in the wrong environment with the wrong people can make it all collapse. And no, that's not an exaggeration. It's pure vibrational science. The electromagnetic field you emit from your heart, and that governs your feelings, is like a living antenna, constantly exchanging information with the environment. When you enter a place charged with fear, complaining, envy, or negativity, that energy enters your system. If you're not shielded, it interferes directly with your vibration. How many times have you left home excited and full of plans, only to hear one criticism or spiteful comment and feel drained? How many times did a call, a piece of news, or a message throw you off balance? This happens because most people never learn to protect their own energetic field. And if you don't protect what you feel, you become vulnerable to anyone's vibration. Successful people know this. They intentionally choose the environments they visit, the content they consume, the conversations they feed, and, most importantly, the company they keep. This isn't arrogance, it's protection. It's awareness that feeling is the fuel of reality. If that fuel is contaminated, the engine stalls. Here's an uncomfortable but liberating truth. Not everyone deserves access to your energy. And it's not because someone is close, family, or familiar that they have the right to drain your vibration. You're the one who must set boundaries. Your peace is worth more than any social obligation. Shielding your field doesn't mean isolating yourself from the world. It means cultivating discernment about what nourishes or destroys your emotional state. It means noticing there are environments that expand you and others that shrink you. There are people who inspire you and others who empty you. And more. Protecting your field also means caring about what you watch, listen to, and read. The words that enter your mind also generate feelings. That's why you should consume content that lifts you up, reminds you of your power, and connects you with your essence. Vibration is built in the details. When you protect your field, you create an emotional shield that prevents negativity from taking hold. In this way, you keep your frequency steady enough to continue manifesting what you desire. Remember, the universe responds to your steady vibration, not to your temporary wishes. And there is only emotional steadiness when you become the guardian of your own energetic field. Now that you understand the power of feelings, the shadow, and energetic protection, it's time to learn the technique that can completely transform your life. a simple yet profound practice capable of reprogramming your subconscious and aligning your emotional frequency with what you most desire. And the most powerful part is that it happens at the most sacred moment of your day, right before sleep. This technique has both scientific and spiritual foundations. It was expanded by Jacobo Grinberg, who studied how the mind shapes reality, and also by Neville Goddard, who taught that the hypnagogic state, the one between wakefulness and sleep, is the gateway to creating your desired reality. In that state, the conscious mind relaxes and the subconscious opens, accepting as truth everything you deeply feel. Here's the step-by-step. Create a peaceful environment. Before sleeping, turn off your phone, reduce stimuli, and prepare yourself for your moment of creation. Relax your body, lie down comfortably, close your eyes, and breathe deeply. Inhale to a count of 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4. Repeat this cycle a few times until your body is completely relaxed. Choose an emotionally powerful affirmation, something that sums up what you want to become or achieve. For example, everything I desire is coming to me now. I'm ready to receive with gratitude and confidence. Or I am guided, I am worthy, and my abundance is already on its way. Feel it as if it were already real. Here's the secret. Don't repeat mechanically. You must feel the emotion as if you were already living that reality. Visualize details. See yourself reaching the goal, feeling the freedom, the peace, the love, the prosperity. The brain doesn't distinguish between the real and the vividly imagined. It records the feeling as truth. Hold that emotion until you fall asleep. This is essential. Allow yourself to drift off, immersed in the sensation that everything has already happened. When that happens, the information is absorbed by the subconscious and begins to shape the reality around you. This process is like planting a seed in fertile soil. It doesn't happen all at once, but it does happen for certain. The more you repeat it, the more you strengthen this new programming. The subconscious is reprogrammed by repetition, aligned with emotion. And why does this work so well? Because you're accessing the very base of your psychic structure, where your traumas and fears are stored, but also your highest potentials. This technique is the key to your creative essence. From now on, every night before sleep, you'll have the chance to plant a new reality. You can keep repeating old patterns, or consciously choose what you want to live. Life doesn't change by accident. It changes when you change on the inside. Now that you know the real enemy that kept you from moving forward, and you've learned the technique to reprogram your feelings and shift your emotional frequency, it's your turn to act. Information alone doesn't transform. Transformation comes when you apply it. And the best time is now, because if you leave it for later, your mind will try to convince you to forget everything you felt here. Today, you learned that feeling commands your reality. So choose consciously to feel the certainty of victory, even if your circumstances don't show it yet. Use the technique every night. Protect your field, raise your vibration, and keep walking, even if the shadow tries to stop you. It only shows up because you're on the right path. If this video made sense to you, hit the subscribe button, because this is only the beginning. Every week, you'll find messages, techniques, and practices here that will help you break limiting patterns and activate the most powerful version of yourself. And before you go, comment below. I am ready to win, even when I'm afraid. Declare it. Share this with someone who's 1 centimeter away from the diamonds, and keep going. Because now, you know the way.